Hello everyone, Tactical Itch here, and today we have a very fun battle from Skarbrand, and he is playing as the Chaos Dwarfs. Recently I've been playing a lot of Drazhoath the Ashen, and seems like Skarbrand has been inspired to do the same, taking Drazhoath on the Cinder Breath mount. A very powerful melee combatant on his Great Taurus. Drazhoath has this Graven Scepter to provide additional melee attack and weapon damage, making him very lethal in melee combat. On top of that, he is quite devastating with his toolkits, with Flaming Breath to destroy enemy blobs, plus his spellcasting abilities, in this case, Hellhammer, and also Ash Storm to provide weakness to fire on enemy units, allowing those Kadai Fireborn with their flaming attacks to do even more damage. For the rest of the army build here, it is mostly just Kadai Fireborn and Hobgoblins. A bunch of Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders and Wolf Raiders Archers as well. One of them, the Oglek Khan's Wolf Boys. Not exactly synergizing with Drazhoath too well here, since Drazhoath's Dark Renown melee buff only applies to unit that has Contempt, and only applies to allies as well. It does not apply to himself. So Kadai Fireborn and Hobgoblins don't have Contempt ability and will not be enjoying that melee attack buff. Regardless, Drazhoath is still very powerful, and let's see what he can do in combat. On the other side of the battlefield, the Wood Elves here going very melee heavy. I do love to see this. A bunch of Eternal Gods with shields in the front line, providing a lot of anti-large armor piercing, makes them really good at taking down those Kadai Fireborn, actually, backed up by a ton of War Dancers and Blade Singers, a lot of anti-infantry power. For mobility, a lot of light cavalry signature for the Wood Elves, a bunch of Glade Riders, and the Wild Hunters of Kurnos, anti-large armor piercing with magic attacks, also good at taking down Kadai Fireborn. In this guy's leading the army, Spellweaver of Wild Magic with only Flock of Doom and Wizen's Wild Form. There's also a single missile unit, Hawkeyes of Drakira, for some precision firepower, and also Glade Captain providing another melee single entity. That's it for the army builds, and now let's get the battle started. The Chaos Dwarfs not having any missile infantry or artillery, they are heavily committing into the melee rush, quickly rushing towards the enemy front lines there, though they do have some skirmishing forces in the form of Hobgoblin Wolf Raider archers ready to move up and start peppering down the lightly armored Wood Elves, especially the Blade Singers, expensive infantry with not much armor or shields to protect them. So perfect target for the sheer volume of fire arrows to pepper down, though with the fire at will turned on, the Wolf Raiders will be shooting at the Eternal Gods with shields, unleashing their volleys automatically, but now they're shooting at the Blade Singers and will be doing a little bit more obvious damage with the fire support. Now on the other side there, Hawkeyes of Drakira sniping out some HP from these Kadai Fireborn, putting a very noticeable dent in their HP bar. In the skies, Drazhoath the Ashen is pushing back the Spellweaver. Even with Wizen's Wild Form turned on, she does not want to deal with Cinder Breath with only a Great Eagle helping her in combat. Now in the front line there, Cutthroat clashing into War Dancers and Blade Singers. No doubt the War Dancers and Blade Singers can slaughter the Hobgoblins, but here comes the Fireborn right behind them, smashing apart their defenses, especially with that anti-infantry bonus and magical attacks. Exact formula you need to deal with the War Dancers. At the back there, a Hellhammer right onto a blob of Glade Riders and Eternal Gods, doing some really nice damage from Drazhoath the Ashen here. Now Drazhoath is on the ground, applying that fear and terror onto the Blade Singers, who are trying to hold on with the Shadow's Coil boosting their melee defense, but that is unfortunately not enough against that sheer force of Kadai Fireborn and Cutthroat numbers. On the other side there, things are a little bit more stabilized. Now that the Glade Riders are being engaged in battle, Eternal Gods are also being activated from reserves to stem the tide. These Blade Singers, not having to deal with a head-on charge from the Kadai Fireborn, managed to preserve a lot of their HP, now saturating onto this blob of enemy infantry. With their magical attacks and armor piercing, they can still do some pretty good damage to the Kadai Fireborn, especially with their solid melee attack stats. On the other side, Eternal Gods are also reinforcing this blob fight surrounding those Kadai Fireborn and using their superior melee stats to grind down those Cutthroats. However, unfortunately, the Hawkeyes of Drakira are mostly unprotected, as the Glade Riders are mostly activated to try and stop the tide of Fireborn and Cutthroats. So these Wolf Raiders are able to just sneak around the enemy defenses and start harassing these Hawkeyes of Drakira. Some returned War Dancers might able to help and peel off these Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders, and it seems like that is exactly what's happening right now, as the Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders have been discouraged by the point-blank shots of the Hawkeyes of Drakira, being forced to pull back. Now, the Blade Singers here are doing some really solid work, cutting through both Hobgoblin Cutthroat and Kadai Fireborn, while over here, Glade Captain is trying to punch down Drazhoath the Ashen, and the Wild Hunters of Kurnoss took a lot of damage in the block fight against those Kadai Fireborn. So right now it is pretty much down to the Blade Singers here holding the line plus the Eternal Guards. Where is the Spell Singer actually? Oh, right here. It seems like she is still have roughly half health left and is roaming the battlefield. She's sticking strictly to the ground now and does not want to get caught in the air by Drazhoath and Cinder Breath. Nothing protecting her in the skies. But here comes the Wolf Raider surrounding her and also pinning her, distracting her down, allowing Drazhoath the Ashen a golden opportunity to deliver a deadly rear charge. If Drazhoath activates his Scepter, he probably have enough damage outburst to snap out the Spellweaver. Even without that, he's still delivering a heavy beating on that poor Wood Elf caster. Wood Elves are desperately throwing everything they've got to save their leadership here. Wild Hunters of Kurnoss have regrouped, managing to surround Drazhoath the Ashen here, with a bunch of Blade Singers screening back those Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders, but unfortunately, Spellweaver of Beast still being routed away as Drazhoath's melee power is just a little bit too much here. Though Drazhoath is now being followed by a bunch of anti-large armor-piercing Wild Hunters of Kurnoss and the Glade Captain herself. The Glade Captain seems to be stuck in a permanent charge animation. Oh, it seems like she did deliver a charge attack onto Drazhoath the Ashen, doing some minor damage, but most importantly just keeping him grounded, and now he is pinned down, surrounded by the Wild Hunters of Kurnoss. This would be actually a very good opportunity for the Wolf Boys or the Wolf Raiders with bows to just deliver a rear charge and rout off these Wild Hunters of Kurnoss, but seems like they have a different job to do right now. For example, put the pressure onto the Spellweaver of Beast and keep her routed off the map. However, that would definitely be a better choice to just send at least one of these Wolf Raiders to hit up these Wild Riders over here, since Drazhoath unfortunately surrounded by those anti-large cavalry and a very elite melee combatant was actually taking a lot of damage, being forced into a rout. Fortunately for the Wood Elves, Drazhoath managed to take off to the skies, escaping the grasp of the Glade Captain. Now, the Glade Captain really have to keep the pressure on, continuously following Drazhoath to make sure he is routed off the map. Hobgoblins are rushing over to try and save their lord, so let's see if they can catch up and bail out Drazhoath and re-secure that Chaos Dwarf Lord, because if the Chaos Dwarf can't actually get their lord back, they might be in a bit of trouble, considering most of their forces that remains are just Hobgoblins. Actually, all of that remains are just Hobgoblins outside of Drazhoath himself. Now, in the far side of the battlefield, the Spellweaver of Beasts have been pushed off the map, so the Elven leadership, despite being very solid, is still in a bit of a trouble here, since they now only have some Eternal Gods left on the ground. Now, if the Glade Captain can rout off Drazhoath, things might actually swing against the Chaos Dwarfs, but very luckily for them, the Ogla Khan's Wolf Boys managed just in time to catch up to the Glade Captain. They are only marginally faster than her, but that charge acceleration really helped them close the distance. Drazhoath is now able to deliver a counter charge, slamming into the Glade Captain here with the Graven Scepter turned on, absolutely destroying the Glade Captain in melee combat, and only a couple hits are needed for the mighty Lord of the Chaos Dwarf to push and rout that poor Glade Captain. Now the Ogla Khan's Wolf Boy can simply follow the Glade Captain and escort her off the map. That means there's only some Eternal Gods remain on the battlefield, and we are on Conquest mode. So if the Wood Elves can actually secure this victory point and get enough tickets, they might still win the game, but it is very unlikely at this point, now that they only have 3 tattered units of Eternal Gods left, while they are just getting peppered by a bunch of Hobgoblin Wolf Raider archers. Now Drazhoath comes in, all he needs to do is drop down, tear out some of their units, a chain rout happens, and that shall be army losses. GG to both players, and big thanks to Skybrand for sending in this replay. It was a very fun game and a very fast one as well. That's usually what happens when both players are going for a fast, aggressive melee rush army. For the army performances there, Drazhoath doing pretty well there, sniping off both of the characters of the Wood Elf army, and also doing some nice spell damage with the Hellhammer. But I do think that we didn't see much notable breath attacks from Drazhoath and Cinder Breath, so that was a missed opportunity to do more effective damage. For the rest of the army here, the Kadai Fireborn traded really well into the War Dancers and Blade Singers, just that over a prolonged period of combat, they just got shot up by the Hawkeyes of Drakira and dragged down by one of the Blade Singers and a bunch of Eternal Gods. The Hobgoblin Cutthroat Infantry mostly acting as meat shields for the Kadai Fireborn, while the mobility here mostly being used to pressure the Hawkeyes of Drakira and silence their firepower, push off the Glade Riders and routed Wood Elf units, while the Oglek Khan's Wolf Boys getting some really solid damage value, shooting up any available light armored Wood Elf targets, but more importantly saving Drazhoath from the pursuit of the Glade Captain and resecuring their lord, chasing off the Glade Captain afterwards as well. While on the other side of the battlefield, the War Dancers and Blade Singers performed quite horribly when they were charged by the Kadai Fireborn. One of the Blade Singers avoided getting charged, so getting quite a bit of value back by counter-charging into the Kadai Fireborn. Hawkeyes of Drakira and the Wild Hunters of Kurnos tried their best to carry the game, almost sniping out Drazhoath with the help of the Glade Captain, but alas, unfortunately, they were just not quite able to bring the battle back. And yeah, that's it for today's battle. I hope you all enjoyed this multiplayer action, and if you want to see more Total War Warhammer multiplayer content, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.